Hi, everyone. My name is Angel Royal. I am Senior Vice President for Strategic Initiatives at the American Association of Community Colleges, and I am responsible for the AACC annual meeting. And I'm going to pass over to my colleague for her to introduce herself to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mulaney Ward. I am managing the exhibits and sponsorship opportunities for the annual meeting, as well as assisting Dr. Royal with the logistics.
So today we really want to have an opportunity to preview for you our exhibit and sponsorship opportunities for AACC annual or AACC 2024, as we call it. What I would ask you to do is at any point in time, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to put that information in the chat, and we will make it a point to answer your questions. So getting started, we have about 29 participants on this webinar, and I'm not necessarily sure how many of you are familiar with the meeting, if you are returning, or this is your first time. And so we wanted to make sure that we were level setting about what AACC 2024 is. Um, we host one of the largest professional development opportunities for the community college ecosystem. And so whether you're a faculty member or a CEO, there's going to be something at the event for you. What we try to do is make sure that we are infusing high energy keynote presentations into the program. And we do probably about 180 to 200 breakout sessions that address the most pressing issues and opportunities in the sector. And we're going to be adding some different components this year around problem solving work sessions and networking opportunities. So the key audiences for AACC 2024 are going to be your community college CEOs. We classify executives as those in the C-suite that are vice presidents, vice chancellors, associate vice chancellors, those individuals. Managers are what you're going to usually look at as your deans, executive directors. Then you'll have entry-level employees that are your administrators, your coordinators, faculty trustees. We also have a number of foundations that are represented at this meeting, as well as federal agency representatives, and of course, our business and industry partners. Who attends our meeting? We want to make sure that before you're making an investment, which can, in terms of some of our partners, be extremely significant, a financial investment, we want to make sure that you have the information so that you're making a well-educated decision. So when you look at the attendees, who attends our meetings, about 19% or about 300 of our attendees will fall into the CEO category. Most will fall into decision-making roles. So they're executives, they're the vice presidents, the folks who are actually making recommendations to the CEOs about resources and tools and technologies that the college may want to consider. Then you have those individuals who are in those managers roles like deans and others. We have about 7% faculty. We are working very hard to grow that this year. And others will fall into the category of trustees and the like that would not be classified in our traditional employment taxonomy, and then exhibitors. In terms of the demographics, when we look at our participation, 59% of our attendees are white, 22% are Black, and then we have Latino, Latina, Latinx as 9%, Asian Pacific Islanders 4%, multi-race at 5%, and then there are some that prefer not to answer. And a lot of the demographic information that we collect through the registration process. So some of those questions, while it's good information for us to have, we don't require that our attendees disclose certain information if they're not comfortable with doing so. In terms of the generations that attend our meeting, the vast majority of them are going to be Gen Xers, but there still is a very large representation of baby boomers at 23%, and We have been working very hard in our millennial Gen Y category, and it's 25% of them. So the vast majority are going to be your Xers and your Gen Y. This year, we've actually instituted a new special rate for Gen Y and Gen Z. And so with those individuals, they can get a reduced rate because we're trying to encourage colleges to bring in individuals earlier in the process and start developing them as they are young leaders so that when positions become available down the line where they can ascend to leadership, they already have the tools and skills necessary to be successful in those roles. And when you look at by pronoun, 50% of our attendees are women or classify themselves with she, her, hers pronouns. 36% are he, him, his, and the remaining 14% prefer not to answer that particular question. So we wanted to make sure that we level set and you know about our attendees. Typically what we share with individuals is and companies especially is that, you know, what we're trying to do is give you exposure to the whole community college ecosystem. If you're coming to AACC annual and you're looking to close deals, this probably is not going to be the meeting for you. If you're looking to uh, deepen relationships with your existing customers and get your name on the radar and get leads for new customers, then this would be a place for you. You're going to have uninterrupted exhibitor time throughout our show. So we've noticed that some of our sister organizations will say you have 30 hours of exhibit time. Well, it's not really 30 hours because if other things are going on at the same time, then it's pulling our attendees from being able to engage with our exhibitors. So some of the important deadlines that we want you to keep on your radar, and I'll ask Mulaney to chime in at any point in time during this presentation, is we have plans for our exhibitor sponsor forum to open on November 1st. It may not be 100% functional. So if you're looking for, because we're trying to finalize our exhibitor floor plans, it may be that comes online a day or two after the actual form. But if you're looking generally at sponsorship or engagement, would be able to go in and dive into the form at that time. If you're looking to exhibit, you may have to log back in on the 3rd. So we're targeting the 1st, but there may be a challenge to us getting those maps uploaded by that time. What I would encourage you is that if you're purchasing a session where you've just decided, hey, I want to purchase a session so that I'm not under the same criteria that the general sessions that we do. With general sessions, you have to be a member of AACC in order to submit those. And so some companies will go that pathway knowing that if their session is not accepted, then they may just purchase one. When you purchase, you don't have to necessarily include an AACC member in that particular workshop. But what we want you to know about this is that if you're going to purchase, we encourage that you do that sooner rather than later, because our goal is to finalize the agenda by the end of December. And so you would have to submit all of your information via a link that we would provide to you. Typically what is going to happen for most attendees, and it may not necessarily be of issue for individuals that are purchasing sponsored content sessions, is that everyone is required to register. And I will say it now, if you're planning on being an exhibitor and you're using one of your registrations, your comp registrations, as an exhibitor, but you're also a speaker, you don't have to register as a speaker. One registration is sufficient. So I just wanted to throw that out for you. So there will be a purge of our system of speakers that have not completed their registration around the 16th of December. And if you are purchasing any thing that requires sponsorship branding where you've had to design something or there is a logo, the deadline for that is going to be 5 p.m. on March 1st. So we won't be accepting any artwork after that, but you don't have to wait until the last minute. So we want to highly encourage you. We love you when you submit us stuff on time because sometimes it doesn't actually meet the specs that were provided, and we have to come back to you to have you to make major or sometimes minor modifications to the file that you submitted us. And if you wait until the last minute to do that, then we don't have that runway to be able to give you extra time. And so I would say March 1st is really what you're going to be looking at. The other piece that you need to be aware of is that March 22nd is the deadline for registration. So if you are going to register or you're going to be bringing a team, if they don't register by the 22nd, they won't be able to register because we won't be reopening registration this year, and we won't be doing on-site registration. So make sure that you put these down for your deadlines. So for your contacts, if you have questions about anything, Mulaney is really going to be your first line of sending questions. However, you may want to register additional staff that would not be under your booth staff allotment. If that's the case, you would reach out to us at the AACC registration email address or the phone number that's listed here. And if you have questions as we get into those deadlines around uploading slides that you want to make available to people that are going to be attending your session, or even those that are not attending but are going to be attending the meeting, then you would reach out to me through the AACC convention email address. So the first thing that we would encourage you to do is to determine how you want to show up at AACC Annual. Are you planning to exhibit? Are you planning to sponsor? Are you planning to engage around the engagement opportunities that we have? And those are really classified in 3 different categories. And it doesn't mean you have to choose one and not the others. We have some companies that will exhibit and sponsor. So they may, because they want to have that speaking opportunity potentially on the main stage or in a AACC curated session, they may want to do a sponsorship as well as exhibit. Or you may want to do all 3, but you do need to decide how you want to engage. So with exhibiting, there will be a total of 54 spaces this year is what we anticipate. And those spaces will go anywhere between $6,500 and $10,000. If you purchase a $10,000 booth, that means you're going to be in the highest trafficked area of our floor. We will probably have lounge space set up around you so that you are in close proximity to where attendees will be all of the time. If you are at the midpoint in this scale, it's going to be a highly visible place that's embedded within the meeting space. Same thing with the lowest rate of $6,500. For those rates, you will get a demonstration kiosk that looks similar to what you see to the right side of your screen. The letters designate places where you will be able to design your own branding to go on that kiosk. We also have pictures of those if you need to see any of that. Um, you'll get a 43-inch monitor that's mounted to the back of that. It also has some, if I'm not mistaken, Mulaney, do they have storage as a part of this one or?
Yes, there's storage underneath the table where they can put some materials. And I
So
just want to point out the backside, which is where the P1 is. That's the backside of the booth, so that'll be up against the wall. So you would not put a design there, just the side panels and the front panel around the monitor.
with the $6,500 and the $8,500 kiosks, they both come with 3 base registrations, and I will go over for you what is included in a base registration momentarily. And with the 10,000, they get 4 base registrations with that particular booth. There are a couple of questions, so let me check. Someone just asked, are we at the same venue as last year? The venue this year is going to be the Kentucky International Convention Center, so we'll be in Louisville, Kentucky. And we are in 4 different properties, and I'll be able to give you an update on those shortly, because I wanted to at least cover registration fee. I wanted to cover the hotels as well. Will there be a copy of the presentation deck? Yes, we can provide you with a copy of that. We're also recording this webinar and we can make it available as well. Did you request for speaker deadline already passed, or are presentation proposals still being accepted? The deadline for our traditional process is going to be, the deadline is October 31st. Depending on the number of proposals we get, we may extend for about a week, but right now it's set at October 31st. Sandy, I think Mulaney asked, will we be able to use the same artwork we used last year? The booth is generally the same booth, so I would think that they would be able to use the same.
We're using the same design, so we would need you to resubmit the graphics again because they don't, that was booth that was used in Denver was destroyed. But as long as you have the same PDF or however you submitted your graphics, you can resubmit that.
And Charlotte also said last year the exhibit tables were spread out on a few different levels. Will that be the same this year? Yes. The convention center, which is where most information and most activity is happening, has 2 levels. So it has a lower level. There will be some booths in that space, and it has a main level that is where the ballroom space is, and the ground level meeting rooms as well. So it will be spread throughout the meeting space. There's an upper level that we are trying to determine whether or not we're going to use for some kiosk where we may put some lounge seating so that we're encouraging people, and snacks and things, so that we're encouraging people to come there as well. But they will be on different levels. And I think Chris asked, sorry I missed this, but how many people usually attend the conference? The conference this year had about a little over 1,800. We anticipate that it'll be about 2,000 or a little bit higher this year, and that doesn't include the exhibitors and sponsors. And I think that will there be booth space available for non-demo vendors like last year? Of course. So if you want to purchase a kiosk, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have technology or software. It's just that for us, we wanted to move away from the standard old trade show. And this allows us to really be more thoughtful about how we embed our vendors within our meeting space. Cindy asked about Lunch and Learn considered a purchase session with sponsored content. We are actually not doing Lunch and Learns this year, but the session with sponsored content, I will go over that for you in a few minutes, and I'll tell you what time those are going to be handled. But there are 2 kinds of sessions. That is a session with sponsored content. There's also, you can sponsor a session that AACC curates where you have a few minutes to make comments at the beginning of those sessions as well. Charlotte asked what level has the most traffic. Typically, the way we operate now, we don't really put anyone in any place where you're not getting traffic. We think it's critically important for our members to engage with you. So it's just that you know, the difference between having a booth maybe on the lower level and having a booth right across from AACC's registration, or where people will be betting on the playing the AACC game. It's just that they might see people, the same person 5 or 6 times, because that person has to physically walk through that space in order to exit the building. But I would say that all of them are generally high trafficked areas, because we don't have you separated in an exhibit hall where people have to make a conscious decision to come to you. You're embedded throughout the exhibit space. So there isn't any low traffic. Mulaney, any comments that you have?
No, not yet. That's correct. I mean, throughout the meeting spaces where we have all the booths, so everything is a good trafficked area. But as Dr. Royal said, there are some places that get a little bit more depending on how close they are to other things that we have going on within the meeting.
And so the pre-show attendee list is going to be the only list that we have this year. And the reason why that's the case is because once registration closes, it closes. So the list that you have is going to be it's going to be the list. And we'll talk to you a little bit about how we're going to be managing our lists going forward. These booths will also have electricity and internet as a part of that setup as well. So you don't have to worry about those things once you have applied for your kiosk, because there is an application process. And the reason why we have that process is we don't want you, like, I don't want to take anybody's money and you not have a good experience. So what we want to do for individual companies that are looking to exhibit at the show, we want to know what you're planning to preview. What do you want to talk to our attendees about, so that we can then tell you, yeah, we've heard that that's a demonstrated need, or we have not heard that that is a need by our members. And so we want to be able to look at that to say, we don't know that you're going to have the best experience doing this. Perhaps we could suggest that you do two other things that would cost you the same amount of money, but probably would be a higher yield for you. So we have 54 of those opportunities available. We ask you to put in your application sooner rather than later, because you'll be able to select your booth location at the time. Once we've approved your application, you have about, I think, 48 to 72 hours where you need to make the payment for that, because if you don't, then it'll be released back into inventory for somebody else to pick up that particular space.
And then Dr. Royal, somebody had a question at the bottom where, so yes, it's not a traditional exhibit hall. The kiosks are the same for everybody. And we place them throughout the exhibits, I'm sorry, not the exhibit space, throughout the meeting space. So throughout the hallway. So as attendees are walking to go to their sessions or go to registration, et cetera, that's where all the kiosks are placed. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to make sure I don't want to miss anybody's questions, and want to make sure that we get you the information that you need in order to make the right decisions. In terms of our sponsorship and branding, um, we actually wanted to make sure that companies know that registration is not included in any of the sponsorship and branding packages. The only thing that you can generally do at AACC annual that does not require registration is going to be speed networking. So you can actually sign up for speed networking, which is going to be held before the meeting actually kicks off, where you can get an opportunity to get about 20 leads within those conversations, and you don't have to necessarily you don't have to register for that. The other pieces you would generally have to register for if you want to attend the meeting. So of course we have one lanyard opportunity that we generally have each year. We have the mobile app that we always have, and when you get the prospectus under each particular category for the offering, it tells you, you know, kind of what you get for that and what we need in order to move forward. And so sponsoring AACC curated sessions, these are sessions, for example, that our CEO will say, this is a session I want to do. Like one of the sessions we know he's going to want to do is probably going to be on transfer. And if you are doing work in that space as a company, you may want to sponsor that. And so if you're sponsoring it, that would mean that you could provide us with a 2-minute video that plays before that session begins. You can be there to introduce the panelist for that. And so that's one of the options. So you can sponsor a session that AACC drives the content for. This is different than a session with sponsored content, which is the session I think that we were asked about in the Q&A a little bit earlier. Water bottles and water station, we know that that is a pricey fee, but that would cover branding for all of the water stations throughout the venue. That's also going to have, nice water bottles for with your branding on them that would be given to every attendee. We're also going to have a couple of branding opportunities, one at the Omni, which is the headquarters hotel. And that fee, I think, Melanie and I discussed, that fee is going to change due to what the Omni is requiring from us. Uh, so it may go up a little if you're interested in that, but you get an opportunity to have branding on the second floor, which is going to be where some of the pre-convention workshops are, some of the business meetings, and those overflow activities. There's one key card sponsorship, and I think each morning we will be doing a morning cup of Joe. So if you want to sponsor that and you are an exhibitor, we would set up a space near your kiosk so that you can engage with the individuals coming to get coffee. And you would also have on-site signage for that. There will also be breaks that we offer, and so there are going to be break stations. Melanie, you want to go over that one, the break stations, and some of the branding for the main concourse, or like, I don't want to just be the one talking. So if you want to jump in.
That's fine. So yes, with the break stations, we schedule those around the time that the sessions are breaking so that they have an opportunity to come out and speak with the exhibitors that are on the floor. And we have 10 opportunities, same situation that if you're exhibiting, we'll try to, as much as possible, to put that break station close to where you're exhibiting at so that you can also speak to those people. On the main course, again, we'll have opportunities to do floor clings, escalators, window clings. Some of that pricing is going to vary depending on what the hotel is or the convention center are charging back to us, but that's a pretty good general range. And we have one opportunity available for that, but that may increase. We may be able to offer more opportunities as we're laying out some of the spaces at the convention center. Column wraps are happening at both locations, the Omni. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Column wraps are only happening at the Omni. Again, that's the host hotel. And that's an opportunity where you'll be able to offer some branding that we'll have on the columns on level 2 of the Omni, which is the level that people will use that are staying there to come into the convention center. And
So going back to the question, Melanie, did you answer that question on traditional booths?
yes.
Yeah, we just found that when we did a traditional booth format, we would have very disgruntled vendors, and we found in moving to this new format that people generally feel like it's a level playing field, and that is a situation that we wanted to make sure that people were having a good experience. We also had a question about how will priority placement take place. It's actually on a first come first serve basis. So if someone comes in and say they want that high value space, then they would have the ability to reserve that online. So if you have some type of special request for us, I would encourage you to reach out to Melanie on that, and we're willing to like entertain that if you have a special request that is not seen in the prospectus when you get it. The other thing we have are engagement opportunities. And so as I stated before, event registration isn't included in those opportunities. The only thing you don't have to register for is speed networking. So we have 20 opportunities. This will take place on Friday afternoon. The way it works, we have a description of how it works in our frequently asked questions that are a part of the prospectus. But typically how it's going to work is that each of our vendors is given a table with a number, and we will start each attendee at one table, and after between 5 and 7 minutes we rotate them to the next table. So we think it's critically important for our vendors to come prepared knowing what you want to say, because you have a very condensed amount of time in which to say it, but it gives you the opportunity to get about 20 leads out of that. Some of our vendors will talk to us about the fact that we want to be able to engage in conversations with our with your attendees. And so this year we're rolling out World Cafe tables, and so we have 4 of those. And the way it's going to be set up is it's going to be in a room. The vendor will be seated at each table. There could be a specific topic that you might want to have them to weigh in on, and you're really there, you're going to stay at the table while attendees are going to be moving from table to table, and you can share information from the first conversation with the second set of attendees, but you're really just kind of engaging in conversation to figure out what they think about a product or a service. What do they think about a specific issue? So it really gives you an opportunity to engage with about 10 individuals for more of an extended period of time. So the conversations at each table will last between 20 and 30 minutes for each rotation, and there are 2 rotations.
Dr. Royal, could you speak
Yes.
to how many vendors are allowed to be at the speed networking and at World Cafe? So like if you're a sponsor, how many representatives can you bring with you?
There will be one sponsor for each one of those. So unfortunately, we don't have the way that speed networking is set up, because it's set up around cocktail rounds. There's 2 chairs, one for the person that you're meeting with and one for the company representative. And so it is just not feasible for us to have multiple representatives from your company to be in the space. And that would be the same thing with the World Cafe. You would need to identify who your company's designee is going to be for that particular activity and let us know, so that we are prepared for that person to represent you in um, those particular settings. In addition, we've added this year evening lounges, and so we have two on Saturday night and 2 on Sunday night. On Saturday night, typically after the opening session and the opening reception, people will start coming to the hotels or going back to the hotels. The same thing with receptions on Sunday. Receptions usually go between 5 and 7. So these are lounge spaces that are going to be outfitted with very nice furniture. It'll have snacks. You can bring in your Bluetooth, speaker if you want to have music or anything like that. And you have an opportunity to invite individuals to attend or to stop by and visit with you. AACC can also promote if you decided to book a lounge. We can also promote it through our electronic newsletter and on the AACC app. So we can do a push notification for you to get individuals to stop by to engage with you. So as I said, there will be 2 lounges. So there are 2 opportunities on Saturday night and 2 on Sunday. With the Ask Me Anything sessions, what we found out with our corporate partners over the years is our corporate partners do more than what we know them for. And so we thought, hey, it would be maybe a great opportunity for companies that will talk a lot of times about, they come in sometimes and do free consulting on other topics that may not be their bread and butter, but they have expertise. For example, I was having a conversation with a potential corporate partner on Wednesday, and we were having a discussion about procurement and the ease in which the rules and the guidelines are things that they know that colleges can do to expedite their process so that it doesn't drag on and it doesn't take a lot of manpower. This that would be a great topic for Ask Me Anything session. So we'll have a huge room that's set up that we will be promoting your expertise to our attendees so that they can stop by and visit with you. If you're exhibiting and you want to add this on, you can add it on for $1,000. If you're not exhibiting, but you really want to have some space and you really want to field questions from attendees and engage with them, it would be 2,000. These will be done throughout the meeting, so they're not just a one and done. They're at different times on our agenda. Session with sponsored content, which is probably the one that most of our companies are interested in, is this a 45-minute session. Those sessions are going to be on Monday, which is a high attended day for us, and it's a full day of sessions. And so sessions with sponsored content really have the prime session slots, so they're from 11 to 11:45 and 12 to 12:45. We won't be able to select you won't be able to pre-select your time slot, but both of these I can attest to are very highly attended. Sessions sometimes at 8 in the morning, not so much. So you're getting the best sessions that we can offer to you. And typically what you're doing is really filling out the application form for us, the abstract proposal form, so that we can get the information that we need to put into the program booklet and the mobile app for you. It's not that we're trying to dive deep into what you want to cover. That's on you to do, to determine like how you want to frame it. What I would tell you is that you don't want to use these as trying to be straight sales opportunities. You want to use these opportunities to illuminate our attendees about what you offer. And so oftentimes we suggest, even if you aren't including an AACC member institution, we would encourage you to profile them as a case study within your work, because it's easier for colleges to engage with you if they see how another college has used your tool or your resource. So I would tell you, even if you're not going to have them presenting with you, I would highly encourage you to make it interactive, where they can see that you're showcasing some of the case studies that you have in the space, so that they can take it as a learning opportunity. We also do sessions where there are main session speakers. And so for our Hail and Farewell sponsor, these are plenaries. The Hail and Farewell, as well as the breakfast honoring Dale Parnell Distinguished Faculty, as well as the opening session. And it's one other that I'm missing, the outstanding alumni. These are all plenary sessions, and by virtue of sponsoring those, you get 5 minutes on the agenda to address the audience. So these are self-explanatory. I don't need to go into a lot of detail about them, but you will get complimentary tickets and reserved seats for anything that you sponsor if it's a plenary. Melania, I've not told you, but PepsiCo Foundation has already asked for dibs on being the overall event sponsor.
Okay.
And so they have already, put that request in. And because they were our overall event sponsor last year, typically they get, if you've sponsored something before, you really get first right of refusal, with us. So we encourage you to kind of stake out those things, because if a company has not reached out to us, it's fair game and it's open for you to be able to book. It will show up as not available if you went into the actual application and you wanted to select something that someone has already purchased. And we also have one of our pre-convention workshops that is open for sponsorship, and that's our new CEO Academy. And about 20 CEOs sign up for that annually. You're with them for the entire duration. So it's an excellent opportunity. You sit through all of their sessions, you're with them for the duration, and you even have time on the agenda to speak with them. So that one is one that lots of companies really enjoy, because you're getting to build relationship with people that are fairly new on their job. And the last engagement activity that we will have, it will be our horse race game. And the way that is going to work is, if you're an exhibitor, you can purchase community college bucks, which you can then give to attendees for engaging with you. they can in turn use those bucks to go to the betting window and bet on their horse. So if you've been out to our AACC website, you've probably seen 4 horses on the website. Each one of them have a persona. And so there will be actually a physical race with those horses. And so individuals that place bets that win will have an opportunity to win prizes. And so that's how we're further incentivizing our attendees to engage with you. So the denominations that you can purchase are 25, 50, 100, and $150. And what you do with those is if they've engaged with you for 5 minutes or less, you may give them $1. You may give them two. If they've engaged with you for anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes, you might give them 5 or 10. If they've engaged with you for more than that, you might want to give them 10 or 20. So we have a guideline that we can provide you that would help you to disperse your dollars. And the exhibitor booths will be closed by the time the race happens. So it's not like they can run to you to ask for any remaining dollars that you may have. Our goal is for you to give those dollars out during the duration of those exhibit hours.
Dr. Rowe, a couple of questions. How long is the Ask Me Anything session?
The Ask Me Anything sessions will run about an hour each time
Okay.
that they happen.
And then someone else asked about downtowns for exhibitors, so I can take that. There is downtime for exhibitors where you are able to attend sessions. Even though your booth will be up the whole time, we really just ask you to be there during the exclusive exhibit hours, which I'll share with you once we have that. But you're not required to be there the entire time from when it opens on Saturday to when it closes on Monday.
And that really leads nicely into registration and what does base registration include. So whether you're doing a corporate registration or whether you're using your exhibitor booth staff registrations, you get access to every session, including the opening session. And the opening session does not cost anything, but you have to physically register for it when you go in. Um, so you will
And can I
get,
speak to that for a
yep.
second? So last year, or this year, I'm sorry, when we were in Denver, Trevor Noah was our opening speaker. And quite a few people, when they registered originally, they did not select the opening session and they came to regret it. So I do encourage you when you set up for registration to make sure that you do select the opening session because I'm sure it's going to be a great speaker.
So basically it includes anything that is not a ticketed item. So if it's a pre-con, it's not included because that's a standalone ticketed item. If you're going to a plenary outside, like where a meal is offered, that's not included. And I'll explain to you why we do it this way, just so that you're aware. A couple years ago, we were in San Antonio for one of our meetings, and we had that was when everything was included in the base registration. And we had to throw away 400 steak dinners because people said they were going to show up to things and they didn't. And so we don't want to be wasteful with food and with resources. And so what we found is that our members are much more likely to attend events when there is a fee associated. So their base registration is going to get them access to you as an exhibitor. It's going to give them access to attend the opening a session and opening reception. But if they want to go to like Sunday's luncheon, Monday's gala, those things are ticketed events that they physically have to add. And so it's the same thing for our exhibitors. Those are things that those ticketed items can be added to your registration. What it does not include, as I said, we don't have control over breakfast meetings and receptions that are not hosted by AACC. So in the case where, you know, an affiliated organization like NCBAA, the National Council on Black American Affairs, does an awards breakfast every Sunday or Monday, every year. Um, Unless they actually invited you or they extended an invitation, that registration, that reception, or that breakfast meeting is generally closed. If you're interested in attending their events, I would encourage you to reach out to them. I think they would probably welcome that opportunity, but I just can't say, yes, you can attend something that AACC isn't coordinating. So the way that our fees are broken down, if you wanted to do registration for someone that is not that is not going to be exhibiting, our registration, we're currently in on-time registration now. And late registration starts March 1st. So any time between March 1st and March 22nd, you're in late registration. You got to get it done. If you're planning on paying by check, the deadline to pay by check in AACC to receive that check for registration is February 29th. After that, beginning March 1st, we're only accepting credit card payments. The challenge with that, and I will share that with you as well, is that AACC has a lockbox. We receive payments through lockbox. So sometimes, even with our colleges, from the time a college mails their payment till we get it, could be anywhere from 10 to 15 days. It's not one of those things where you mail it and we're going to get it within 2 or 3 days. It just doesn't happen. And so we don't want people to get stuck in a situation where they've requested a check. It's going to take 15 days and we're not going to be able to get it before registration closes. So we just made that decision to make sure that credit card payments are accepted on March 1st. And then I provided for you below what the prices are for the ticketed items. And really, that's generally for to cover the cost of the food and beverage that's offered as a part of that event. One of the things that we offer this year that we're trying to maybe trying to do a better job of getting the word out is emergency cancellation protection. The bottom line is, we live in a world that if you don't show up to something, you typically don't get refunded for it because the organization has already incurred expenses for it. What we wanted to do this year, because we know that things happen. There are life happens, people pass away, people get sick, people get unanticipated jury duty, people's houses are broken into. There are a lot of things. People are deployed to go overseas. There are some things that happen that people don't know in advance. So if you opt for emergency cancellation protection for a registration and any of the things that are covered below happen, you can fill out a simple form, attach your proof, and you're going to be fully refunded. But the coverage only starts on March 25th and it ends on April 6th. So if you had to cancel anytime between March 25th and April 6th for any of the reasons that we outline, we'll refund your registration fee at 100%. Someone asked earlier about the hotels. AACC is going to be housed at, the attendees are going to be housed at 4 properties. The Omni Louisville is going to be the headquarters property. The Louisville Marriott is closest though to the convention center. So the Omni is probably about maybe 2 to 3 blocks away. It's an easy walk, but the Louisville Marriott is right across the street. So you can really walk out the front door of that property, walk right across the street, and you're in the convention center. The Hyatt Regency Louisville. So there are 2 sides of the street. There, the Jefferson side and the Market Street side. So 2 of the properties are on the Market Street side. That's the Hyatt Regency Louisville and the Galt House, and the Omni Louisville and the Marriott are, I believe, on the Market Street side, or not Market Street side. They're on the Jefferson Street side of. So people will be coming from both directions into the convention center, and so we wanted you to have this information so that you could budget accordingly. You can only book housing at our rate through our application form, through our registration form. So when you're booking, you can't, if you go directly to the hotel, you're subject to whatever their rate is at that time, which may not necessarily be comparable with our group rate. I would also encourage you not to go to third party websites and book, because we can't verify that they actually have a relationship with the hotel. So the only way that we can cover you is if you're booking through us. We can't move you into our block after you've booked with a third party. You would have to cancel that and book through us in order to get our rates at the property. There is a question that says, if you purchase a kiosk, do you receive a registration at no cost or do you pay for both? If you get a booth, you have three base registrations that are part of that, that are no additional cost to you.
And once you purchase a booth and your booth application is approved, you'll get access to the exhibitor service center. And through that, that's when you register your staff. And through the registration process, you'll get a link to also do their housing. And then just emphasize though, this has to be completed by March 22nd. On-site registration will not be available. So if an exhibitor were to show up and they hadn't already pre-registered, they wouldn't be able to participate in the conference.
And in terms of the session with sponsored content, yes, we require all of our attendees to register. Like if they're going to speak, they have to register for the event because what we do is we scan people into every session. So we will know who attended. If you had a session with sponsored content, we know who attended your session. We have that information. And I think Mulaney has worked with our programmers on the back end to figure out an easier way to give you access to that information so that you can follow up with them after the fact. So it's the individuals that man those session rooms won't know to let you in if you haven't registered because you would get a red light on the scanner, so they wouldn't give you entry. So as a part of the session for sponsored content, you would need to register. But if you exhibit, you get three base registrations if you're in that 65 to $8,500 category. If you're at the $10,000 category, you get four base registrations as a part of that. With the attendee list, we just kind of want to let you know, we have sometimes have a very hard time getting individuals that want to engage or because they're being inundated with lots of communication. And so the first thing that we want to tell you is if you receive any emails from a third party provider saying that they're representing us and they're selling a list, what we're encouraging you to do is try to gather as much information from them that you can, because they're actually pirates. They're poaching. Nobody has access to our list but us. We don't have an external entity that is working on our behalf with any of our vendors. But what we would do is request that you try to get as much information as possible because we have a page on our website now that says, I think it's pirates and fishing. And we're going to be running, like doing a list of any inquiries that you have received or solicitations that you've received. We will be putting those people on that list so that other vendors know, don't engage with these individuals. They do not represent us. Same thing with hotels. They have no access to our housing. We manage our housing internally, so there's no way for them to sell you rooms within our group. That we do have rules governing our attendee list. There will be two types of attendee lists you can use. So the participant address list is going to be that list that comes to you for folks who've opted into the registration process to share their information with other attendees. This is for networking. So this is not for you to kind of start blasting them with emails and messages. We have a second list that is an opt-in promotion address list that our attendees have told us, hey, yeah, the exhibitor can send us one email either before or after. They can send us one printed piece either before or after. So there are going to be two types of lists, and you'll be able to access those lists through the exhibitor service center. You would also be able to access, excuse me, our branding so that you can brand, but we have to be able to see that item before you send it. And you can simply send it to AACC convention. We will probably be able to turn it around to you within a response within 24 to 48 hours. And so we want to make sure that you understand that our list can't be harvested, can't be sold to others. It's not to be incorporated into an, the vendor's database or to generate mailing lists. it's not supposed to be used as a lead sheet. It's supposed to be used as a way for you to engage with our attendees. So there's an attendee list that's going to be branded as such that you can use really to just connect with people. It's really to be kind of those one-on-one connects. And then we have the opt-in promotion list that you may want to say, hey, we're going to be giving away something at our booth and we want you to come and join us. Those things, that particular list could be used that way. Or if you engaged in our attendees and you want to send something out after the fact, you can do that as well. Violation of using our attendee list for purposes that we don't allow would, could be that you're removed from our meeting and would not be able to, your company would not be able to participate for a number of years. So all I say this to say is that if you have any questions or concerns about how to use our list or whatever, reach out to us to ask us. I would rather spend a few minutes with you, make sure you have the right information, than you assume that you understand and it's in violation of what we've asked for. So with that being said, we've covered a lot of information. I would like to know if there are any other questions that you all have that we can answer for you.
And so while we're waiting, Dr. Royal, I just wanted to share the process a little bit so people would know. So what will happen is next week, I'll send out an email to everybody that's on our list, letting them know that the prospectus is available and that and that registration has opened, and I'll provide those links. If you would like a copy of the prospectus, then you would email me back, and I'll send those emails to you. You can also email me now if you already know that you want it, or if I already have it, that's fine. My my email. Well, you have my email because I emailed you all to invite you to come to this webinar.
And the other thing that I would say is that in some rare circumstances, when we've had long-term partners, there may be something that you want to see that we didn't have as a part of the prospectus. And in some cases, we will do our best to try to honor that. So I would encourage you, if there's something there that you're looking for that is not there, shoot us a message saying, hey, would you consider doing this? I'm really interested in in providing this to your members. And we will definitely consider it. It's not a situation where it's an end all be all that what you see is the only thing that's there. Sometimes there are other things that are not there that we have created for specific vendors that have engaged in our show for a couple of years. So I just say that to say that once you get it, don't think that that's necessarily all that we can do. We're willing to try additional things if space is permitting and we're able to manage it. Any other questions? Okay, we got a couple.
Yeah, there was a question regarding lead retrieval. We will have it available again through eShow, but I don't have information on what the cost is, but I will get that information and make sure that I have it available when sales opens.
And Sandy asked about what time blocks in the conference are open for us to hold receptions meetings. Typically, if you are doing it on your own, um, in terms of receptions, it's going to have to be at times that we would have receptions hosted. So you couldn't do a reception on Monday night, but you definitely could do a reception on Saturday after the opening reception. And you could do it on Sunday anytime during the reception period. So receptions typically are 5 to 7, but if you did the lounge space, you may want to do or put in time that's beyond that. And you're able to do that. So for meetings, if you're doing one-off meetings, you can do those whenever you want to do those. If you're doing meetings where you're asking us for space, you would have to go to our website, just fill out our meeting request form. That form will also be available on November 1st. So sometimes companies or organizations want to host a reception but we own all of the space, so you have to come through us in order to get that space. But if you had like a suite or something and you wanted to do a small reception yourself, we don't have to be involved in that. There's a question around Daniel, I think, asked, can you tell us about the app for first time users? Are you referring to the mobile app or the I want to make sure I'm answering the right question. The mobile app, or are you asking about the application for exhibiting? The mobile app. The mobile app typically will include all of the session information so that people can build their schedules out. We're also going to be doing a morning session for people who are new to the event about planning their day, because sometimes people don't plan until they get on site. So it'll have all of the reception, social events, all of that. Sometimes, depending on the type of partnership that we have or the type of sponsorship, we may do a push notification for a specific event. It in the past, I don't know, Melanie, this past year, if we had the networking component in it where people could reach out to each other within the app. But we will probably be adding that again. So you could reach out to attendees through the app to maybe set up a time to see if they're available to chat, or if they want to connect during the meeting. So I hope that that answered your question, Daniel.
And then I can take Cindy's question regarding the invoice for sponsorship payments. So when you submit your application through the system, it automatically generate an invoice that'll be emailed to you. If you pay it right away, it'll show that you've paid. If you haven't, as Dr. Royal said, you'll have 48 hours, 48 to 72 hours to do so. At which point you'll get an outstanding balance invoice, and then I keep track of those, and I'll send a reminder to make sure that you submit payment before you lose your sponsorship opportunity.
And you can also pay, you can definitely pay via credit card. And if it's like we have some partners that make a significant investment, so they'll have 5 things that they're doing. And in those cases, we can also make arrangements for ACH payments, because sometimes you don't have that room on the credit card, or the credit card flags that there is. They think it's a suspect charge or what have you. And so we can work with you on the different options for that.
And just communicate with me so that I know to hold your sponsorship in that sense.
So it looks like we have gone a little bit over, but do not hesitate to reach out to us if we can answer any questions for you. We want you to have a great experience at AACC Annual. I love it because I'm responsible for it. So, but I want to make sure that you have a good experience, because we want to build affinity between you and our organization. We don't want this to be a one and done type of thing. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions or concerns that you have. And thank you
Thank you.
so much for joining us today. We will be, I'm sure, in touch soon, getting out the prospectus to you and following up on any of your questions.
Thank you.